Welcome to Nevertheless Podcast with Bidemi Mark-Mordi, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you would learn how to discover your essence and live more powerfully.
Hello there. You're welcome to the Nevertheless Show, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. And this is the second week in our Simplify series. And last week we talked about decluttering the mind. I know that episode blessed you in no small way. And this week I have with me the amazing BMM right here in the studio, and we're going to be talking on something very interesting: decluttering through family.
Yes. Hi, John. It's great to be here again another week as we go through this Simplify series. And remember that this, the foundation or the reason why this series is become necessary is because of all the conversations of exhaustions, overwhelm, tiredness that we're hearing. I can't say categorically that most of it is more emotional and mental than it is physical.
Yes.
Because of the things that are happening around us and in our lives in this season. So last week, indeed, we said that, that your life follows where your mind is headed. Mm-hmm. And so what we tried to do was give you simple, yourself at home tips on how to declutter your mind so that you are primed for greatness regardless of what is happening around you. Today, really, John, I want to share on how to simplify our lives through the things we already own or people we own. Yes. And today we're looking at family. How to take things that are hard in this season and plug yourself into the right family. And please, when I say family, I'm not only talking about your biological family. If you don't have one, the Bible says God puts the solitary in families. God doesn't like us alone. And he doesn't really want us like that, which is why he's gone through this effort of creating spiritual families for us. So when you find yourself in the place of overwhelm, in the place of exhaustion, and in place of tiredness, rule number one is to talk to someone that loves you, someone who wants to be there for you, or who you trust can be there for you through that untidy, messy period of your life. Family is critical because of many reasons that I can give us, but I think I will give you four reasons why, yes. Number one, why it is the safest place to go is family. And again, family can be your girlfriends that you went to school together. You've had a long relationship, so they know you. Sometimes it can be your spouse. Sometimes it can be your nuclear family. Sometimes it can be your cell group. You've now forged relationships, within your cell group in church. And there are people that you have opened up yourself to, and you have been vulnerable with them, and they've been vulnerable with you. In a nutshell, what family represents in this conversation is somewhere you feel safe.
A safe place.
Yes. So your best bet is to go to your safe place. Look, the reason why this is important is isolation will kill you. Isolation will kill you. Because most of us, when those things happen to us, we withdraw. And if it has ever happened to you before, take it from someone who has suffered it in the past. But what you find is when you withdraw, you get worse. You never get better. Isolation makes you worse because the noise becomes louder in your mind and all of those things. So family is where you should go. We need to normalize how to say, hey, I need help. Or even if you can't say I need help, just go home. And again, home can be anywhere you feel safe. There are people that know that, for instance, they can come to my house and my guest room will be open for them. And I will not ask them a question. All they need to do is send me a message. They know they have that blank check. All they need to do is send me a message and say, I need to come home. And I'll say, come on home. When they come, what I'm going to ensure is that they are fed. Nobody is asking them for anything. And they can stay in my guest room as long as they need to get their healing back on the way. Do you understand it? So go home. Go where you are safe. Call your group of sisters and say, I need you. In this episode, I want to talk about something I call the expression of need. So let people know you need them. Now, I was going to tell you why this is important, and I've just told you because isolation will kill you. Number two is because if you feel safe enough in this place to go home, it's a no judgment zone. They may say to you, they may tell you truth, but they'll tell you truth without judging you. So you must run where you know nobody is going to pile more on the noise in your head. So go there, no judgment zone. You are just coming in and you say, oh, I stole and I'm feeling really bad about it. So go and sleep first. You know, they can even look at you. Usually when people come to me with those kinds of things, I actually look at them and I begin to laugh. And then I'll stop and say, you know, I'm not laughing at you, right? Is it like, and I'm like, when I feel like this, seriously, you stole? Well, which one of us doesn't steal? But, you know, that's because I recognize that this person has come because they feel like this is a no judgment zone. They are safe here. And I know a lot of us never let our guard down to arrive at those kinds of places. But if you don't have that kind of relationship, you need one. If you are married to your wife and you don't feel safe, why are you married? If you have a husband and you can't come with snot and everything and feel like I feel safe here, what are you doing? I'm not saying you should go and divorce them. I'm just saying you need to work on that relationship because that is critical. Everyone needs somewhere to go where they can feel safe. So that's number one. Isolation will kill you. It's a no judgment zone. Number three is because you can be vulnerable. You know, at this point in your life, you don't want to get on the treadmill of pretense. You know, this is not, hey, hallelujah. Just say the way you are feeling. Do you get it? You can be vulnerable and say, look, I really hate my life right now. It's okay. Let's have that conversation, but make sure that you do what? You go home. Number 4 or number 3, ask help. Ask for help without feeling obligated to pay back. Home is that place. When my children come to me and say, Mommy, I really need this. When my children feel like they're in trouble, they call me. When they feel like, oh, something is beyond them, they pick up the phone. So if I just find someone calling me, I know that they've hit something and they don't know what to do. So I am always grateful when they call home. Do you see it? Yes. And the reason I feel they call me is because they know that I'm not going to put it on, you now owe me tab. With my children, we don't have IOUs. Within family, there are no IOUs. Do you get it? Yes. It's not, oh, I was the one that helped John through that rough patch, so John owes me something. That's not the conversation we have. So the reason why you go home is because at home, you can ask for help without feeling obligated that to pay back. Yes? And another reason why you should go home is these people know you enough. So because they know you enough, you don't need to pretend with them.
Who you're not.
You don't need to pretend with them. Go home. Go home. Go home. Many years ago, I got in a rough patch. A really rough patch. And the last place I thought to go was home. It was the last place I thought to go. But somehow, my younger sister was in town, and somehow she knew that the best place for me to go was home. So she orchestrated without my knowing, and my parents came to get me. It was when I got to my parents' home that I realized how much weight I had lost. It was when I got home that I realized that my hair was pulling out. That was how stressed my life had become. And when I came home, nobody was trying to tell me, I told you so, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't. They just were more interested and invested in nursing me back to life. Do you see it?
Yes.
So we always feel like, oh, we need to put our guards up. And then we run from those that God has given us the capacity, has given us as a gift to help us heal in those times. It is not what to do. I know it sounds, it's simple, go home. But think about it carefully. How many of us, when we get there, go home? If I'll talk about men don't know how to go home. Men would like to go to a beer parlor. They say they are drowning their sorrows. And a few women do that too. So it's not like I'm riling on the men. Men like to bury themselves in work. Oh, I know that I just need to do this. But you know you are medicating where you should be pulling off the bandage so that people can see you enough. Even if they can't help you, they will be there with you. So you now know that you are not alone. So when I say go home, I don't want you to think of all the points. That's the easiest thing that anybody would have done. Try and go home and see. You'll see that I know of situations where people will say, I'm coming home. Everybody's waiting for them. They will drive into their estates and they will go out the other way because they can't come home. But the thing, and the reason that happens most of the time is shame. But if you are ashamed in the presence of those who already know you, then where are you going to get help from? Even if you're going to get a professional to help you, go home first. Any questions?
We'll go on the break, and then after we return, we'll go into the concluding part of this conversation. Thank you.
Are you seeking to clarify your purpose and profit from it? Then, get into the Purpose University this year. A 10-week e-course for people of faith who seek to clarify their purpose and profit from it. The DNA of purpose has been put together to help you understand what purpose is about and discover what your journey of purpose might look like. Register today at yourpurposeu.org, where Bidemi Mark-Mordi would hold your hands to discover your purpose and live powerfully.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life is just simple. Do not worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi Mark-Mordi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless and other books written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, like The Wisdom of the Seed, Honor, The Theology of Work, and so much more from a bookstore nearby, or call 080-905-63555 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order. I guarantee you will make it. Nevertheless.
Welcome back to this second episode in the Simplify series, and we began talking about how to declutter your life with family. And of course, I still have with me BMM in the studio.
Hey, John. Yes, we went on a break, and before we went on a break, I was telling us how it is important that we went home. Yeah. Because it is safe at home. Home is a no judgment zone. And during the break, someone asked me, what if you have a toxic family? And I said, that's why in defining family, I did not limit it to your biological family. I'm talking about everyone who you feel safe with. That's what, so I use the word family because it gives the picture that I want to paint, but it's not limited to your biological family. Because I remember that I talked about old school mates. Yes. I talked about church family, people in your cell group in church and all of that. But as we start or we continue, what I want to talk about are 4 tips at least on how to deploy family when you come back home. So come back home, yes, for the first 1, 2, 3 days, maybe 1 week, depending on the magnitude of what is eating you up. They may need to just feed you, send you to bed, feed you, send you to bed, and all of that. But after that, you have to engage. So when you come home, you have to engage. And the first thing that you must do that I think can happen is come in the midst of them. So if they're watching TV, sit with them. If someone is in the kitchen getting something done, go into the kitchen with them. It gives you, for me, it gives me the vibe of I'm useful. It gives me the vibe of I'm working. It gives me the vibe of I am somewhere and I'm even taking recreation or rest. So don't go back home and then lock yourself in a room, isolate, and then they have to knock and knock and knock for you to come. And then when they knock, you can't, you outside, and then they put your food, slip your food to you like you're in prison, and then you shut the door and go back. It means you haven't come home. You may be in the building, but you've not engaged. When you come home to be helped, make sure you engage. Make sure you engage. If someone says, "Oh, I'm walking, taking a walk. Do you want to take a walk with me?" Get up. I know you don't feel like it, but engage. It's the reason you came home. You didn't come home to lock yourself up again. So make sure you engage. Go for recreation. I like, when I come home, I like to come somewhere where you can take me to lunch and I don't have to worry about paying for the lunch. It's part of my healing process. Yes. In fact, if you're going shopping, call me. I'd like to go with you and have to be able to pick one item or two, and I'm not responsible. The point of coming home is to let go of being in control for a bit and let others be in charge of you. Yes? Be in charge of you or be in charge for you. But for that to happen, you must engage. So engagement is critical. Number 2, have conversations. Monosyllabic utterances are not conversation. Because people want to talk to you. Because I have seen people come and they claim to come home. And then after a few days, I become frustrated. I become frustrated because I'm trying to strike a conversation. And you're saying, no, yes. It doesn't help. If you truly come home to a safe place, engage, also hold empowering conversations. Now, empowering conversations in that light for me is share what you're going through without looking for solutions. That's number 1. You did not come for solutions. You came because you feel safe. So when you engage in conversation and you speak up, what you do is you unburden yourself without necessarily receiving, because if they don't have solutions, they don't have solutions. And that's fine. But they say that a problem shared is that a problem half solved. So just that unburdening to say, "Oh, here's how it made me feel. I felt so mad." It hurts because it is detoxifying. You are detoxifying yourself. You're saying, "Oh, all these things that I didn't know who to say to, all these things that I've just had to swallow and continue. Now I can just unburden." So sometimes when people come to me or when I go home, because I also get to find myself needing to go home, I call and I just talk. Especially if I decide if the home I choose is my husband, I just talk and talk and talk and talk. And he knows that he doesn't need to have a solution for me. He just needs to listen. And when I'm done, I can talk for 1 hour and then he says, "Be able to be all right. You're going to get past this." I may not be excited by that response, but it is what I need in that moment. So come home, because home will give you the chance to unburden. You can say it how you feel. That's the beauty about family.
Yes.
If you say, if I could just kill them now, it's your family, they're not going to call police for you. If that person dies tomorrow, they'll not say you were the one that killed them. I'm not advocating that, but just in case that's how you know to
express your grief.
To express, yes, your pain and your grief and your anger and whatever. That's a good place to go. If you feel safe there, they would watch over you. Okay? And then another thing I see when people come home is that when they come home, they make people tiptoe around them. People begin to walk on eggshells. So because you are sad, everybody in the house should be sad. No, sir. Just because you are sad and you came home does not mean I have to be sad.
Should be sad.
I can still wear my new clothes. I can have my dance party all by myself in my room on Thursday because that's what I usually do. So I'm not going to now, because you're home, begin to tread on eggshells on red. No. Yeah. Don't make people have to adjust to your level. You came to be lifted, yes, not for them to slump to your own level. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
So if you find them celebrating, go and sit there. You may not be able to smile as much as you would normally smile, but please step out and go. Don't make them feel guilty. Finally, make the effort to get better. Make the effort to get better, because there's only how much people can take in trying to help you get better. If every time they knock on the door you don't respond, if every time they finally drag you out of the room you wear your long face and you are hissing all day, after a while they will get out. They will now leave you at home and they will take off and now go somewhere else that they feel safe. Do you understand it? So make sure that when you come home and people are making the effort, that you make the effort as well. Now, someone might be thinking, all of this one on top, I am tired, I'm overwhelmed, and I'm exhausted. Yes. Because I'm not talking about someone who was in traffic for 2 hours and said, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm worn out, I'm overwhelmed. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about someone who was in traffic for 2 hours and he got home, stepped out of the car and started to bawl, started to shake, because the traffic was just a trigger
for all
the other things that they've bottled up. So it's not just the expression, it is the state of the spirit of that person, the state of the soul of this person that we are looking at. It's not everybody who just felt tired because they walked from here to Lekki Gate that should go home.
I'm going home.
That's not. If you find yourself where you need to go home, you will know.
Exactly.
You will know that, because you are either hovering on the fringes of depression, you are actually actively depressed. If all your journeys in your house is between your bed and your fridge,
then there's a problem.
and you see me blinking, you need to go home. If all you do all day long is you just get up and you weep, you need to go home. Oh, Stabi, but this home they're not professionals. I believe that even if you engage a professional, ultimately, which you should if you need to, go home first. There's nobody on earth that is more invested in your sanity, in your wholeness, in your greatness, as those ones that God has gifted you as family, whether they are your biological family or they are your church family or people you've grown up with over the years. And the reason why this podcast series is important to me is because there was a day when is one in the 10 people I know who is exhausted, overwhelmed, and tired. Now, 8 out of 10 are exhausted, overwhelmed, and tired. Do you see it?
Yes.
So it tells me that not everybody is at breaking point yet. But if we don't quickly deal with it, they may find themselves furiously going towards breaking point. This is so that we don't arrive at breaking point. Finally, when it comes to family, I just want you to know, in case you get there, you're thinking, am I the only one? It's just your own season of crazy. Their own season is coming. Just wait. And we're not laughing and we're praying that their own season will come. But because the things that overwhelm you today are not the same things that can overwhelm them. Their own season is coming. And the measure to which you allow them to be there for you is how you would be able to be there for them. I know this is not a long episode, but I think that this conversation is important. John, no questions.
No, I was going to ask, especially for, judging from the side of men, like you have said, it's hard for them to go home. All right, so a man that says, okay, I really need to go home, how can he get his mind to say, okay, yes, I want to go home? How can he adjust to this fact that, okay, go home?
First and foremost, remember that whether home is your wife or home is your siblings, I would suggest you begin with your wife, or home is your wife and your children. Remember that you're on the same team. You're not playing in separate teams or different teams. You're on the same team. You're on the same team. So if you're a man and you decide to go home, wherever you call home, those people are your team. They're your team members. That's why you need to go home. They do not gain anything from your disintegration. Do you see that?
Yes.
That's number one. Number two, if you are a man and you decide to go home, I know it is harder for men to go home, but I want you to go home. And even if you can't say anything, elaborate, just walk in and say, I need you. I need you. I remember that a couple of years ago, my husband was overwhelmed by a process that he was going through, leading up to something. The thing looked so close to him and yet so far away. But I remember vividly, and my daughter was just recuperating from surgery, and my husband needed me. And my daughter was out of surgery, and my husband said, BMM, I need you to go with me. I knew that took a lot from him. He could have said, I'm the man, let me just go. But the moment he said it, I knew I had to go. I packed, I told him, I can't come on Sunday with you, but first thing on Monday morning, I will be there. And I went on Monday morning and I came back on Thursday morning. Because he needed to be, it was a whole process of many things. Well, I couldn't change anything when I got there, but he knew, when he'd go for his processes during the day and he'll come back to the hotel room, he knew that I was there. If I couldn't do anything, I was praying. So remember that when you go home as a man, it's not necessarily because they have solutions for you, but it's because that's the only place you will not be taken advantage of, really. If you go to the beer parlor, you'll be taken advantage of. Yes. If you go to the brothel, you'll be taken advantage of. If you go to the club, you'll be taken advantage of. So go home. Even if you can't share the details, just say, I need you. I teach my sons, I have 2 young adults, and I teach them to come home. No matter what, call your mother and come home. Before they get married, I will teach their wives, let my sons come home. It is important. It is important. Many men within the faith have fallen into even deeper trouble because they didn't go home. So you don't go home because answers are at home. You go home because it is safe at home. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
Any other questions?
No other questions from me.
Okay, so we've come to the end of this episode. We're still looking at simplifying our lives for greatness. We're looking at the art of uncluttering or decluttering our lives so that overwhelm will not take us out of the game. And in this episode, we looked at simplifying your life by going home or by going back to family, where it is safe, it is non-judgmental, and people already know you. Next episode, when we come, we'll be looking at another way to simplify your life so that you can continue to grow. Please don't go. Remember to keep it a date with us next week. This is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. Remember that when you discover purpose, you live powerful lives. John?
Yes, and we want you to, of course, follow Bidemi Mark-Mordi on all social media platforms at Bidemi Mark-Mordi. And of course, if you have a question for us or you want to, get in touch with us, you can leave it in the comment section. Anywhere you find our podcast, on any platform that there is a podcast, we're there. All right, and we'll get in touch with you in the course of time. Thank you.
Have a great day. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bless you.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 080-90563555 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com. Don't forget, discovering your purpose helps you live more powerfully.